Within the past week, over 150 civilians were killed or wounded in Yemen by US-UK-backed Saudi airstrikes. The Aqwa and Amari families living in Yemen at the southern end of the Arabian Peninsula were among the victims. 18 of the dead were children. But the UN says ongoing airstrikes, weaponized by the British government, have killed or wounded nearly 700 children since March. And today, amid so-called peace talks in Geneva, 20 million people, or 80% of the entire population, face humanitarian disaster. Joining me via Skype from the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, is Save the Children's Advocacy and Policy Manager, Fatima Al-Ajel. Fatima, thanks for joining us from the Yemeni capital. So the UN Emergency Relief Coordinator, Stephen O'Brien, says the US-UK-backed war has left 20 million facing humanitarian disaster. You're on the ground. Does that sound like an exaggeration?
No, I think this is true. And if you say the situations in Yemen, it's very critical, and the humanitarian situations is very difficult. True, what the UN says that 200 million people are really in need for humanitarian assistance in Yemen. And I don't know if you know that 22,000 and 800 almost have been died since the March 26 because of the airstrike and the conflict. So this is a really big number, and about 70,000 are injured. So this is the really big number, and it can tell how it's the situations in the ground.
But that's 80% or more of the entire population of the country.
Yeah, they are really in need for humanitarian assistance. And also, if you know the situations before the airstrike and the conflict, it was really bad, but now it's really worse. Now we can see 50 million people in Yemen are lacking access to basic March.
What did it feel like when you were on the ground there and the International Red Cross, they were denied access to Yemen by the Saudi government, the British and American-backed Saudi government?
Yeah, you can see what's going on the ground because of this lack of access to humanitarian assistance. People they really in need. They suffer from shortage of everything: fuel, water, food, health care, everything. You feel you are in very critical situations, and it's really, I don't know, people they cannot cope with the situations. The protection side is also critical. Children mainly, they are facing this kind of conflict, and they have this experience of to be unsafe and secured because of this conflict.
What can Save the Children do if the US and UK continue to supply the Saudis with weaponry? What can you do on the ground if the bombing continues?
We struggle with kind of bombing, and in Yemen we plan to reach 100,000 individuals affected by this crisis. It's almost like 50,000 households. We try to provide the assistance of food and non-food items, wash, hygiene, child protections, health and nutrition, basic livelihood activities that we try to implement just to improve and reduce the risk and the difficulties that Yemeni people face, especially children in the ground.
But the British, American and Saudi authorities say that the Saudis are bombing military targets, not civilian targets.
I can say that they are different. If you say in the situation in Yemen is different. What's bombing and targeted is school and hospitals and normal building for civilians. It's really critical when you saw those just around you. It's every area in Sana'a and other areas are targeted by these airstrikes, and you don't feel yourself safe. And Houthis, militaries, and things like that. It's within the city, and so it's everywhere is targeted. You can see that hospitals are targeted, and it's like at least 153 health facilities are closed since March 26, just because of the airstrikes And some of them, they are really affected and damaged, and that's mean hundreds of thousands of people, the lack for this basic health services. Also, if you go to schools, there are hundreds of schools, nearly 3,600 schools ended the school year without making the final exam, and that's mean 1,008,000 children, they miss their academic school.
Do you get the feeling that the civilians believe that they've been caught up in a big geopolitical crisis about the strategic interest of Yemen, and they're paying the price for that?
Yeah, true. And this is what we try to hear from the civilians and the target beneficiaries, target group that we work with. They feel we are innocent, we are not part of this conflict, but at the end we are the most affected and vulnerable at the end of the day.
So while the blockade continues, while the US-UK-backed Saudis bomb Yemen, what about the spread of disease? Because there are now cases of dengue fever, I understand, spreading through Yemen.
Yeah, it is very critical, especially in the hot areas like in the north and the south, like Aden and Hudaydah. There are some reports about this kind of disease. Also, diarrhea, other critical diseases are facing by the civilians there, and there is lack of medical and lack to support from the NGOs and from the Ministry of Health as well.
And what's the state of the anti-aircraft fire? Is it a case of just every night you're being bombed and there's no defenses to speak of?
Yeah, we faced the two sides, and it's like it's a nightmare for the people to have every midnight. We face this kind of bombing and airstrikes, and it's both are it's difficult to live and to sleep in this kind of situations, and it's really unprotected. So you cannot feel safe or secured or protected by this kind of bombing. And I can say from my point of view as a Yemeni, and I see my family and the children that we have, how they face it. It's really difficult for them, and they have psychological problems. They cannot cope with the situations. They don't feel they are secured or protected because of this bombing and these difficult situations.
And do you feel safe?
Bombing, it's everywhere. You cannot guarantee where it will be the next bombing. So we try to be safe as we can and operate it as we can, but nothing can be guaranteed.
Fatima Ayajal from Save the Children, thank you.
Thank you.
We contacted the Saudi embassy in London, but they didn't get back to us in time for this broadcast. But the Foreign Office told us that
the UK urges the coalition to quickly move to targeted naval interdictions of incoming commercial ships and urges all parties to show restraint.
As for Michael Fallon's Ministry of Defence, it told us that
the UK is not participating directly in Saudi military operations. We are providing support to the Saudi Arabian Armed Forces and, as part of pre-existing arrangements, are providing precision-guided weapons to assist the Saudi Air Force. The use of these weapons is a matter for the Saudis, but we are assured that they will be used in compliance with international law.
That's all for today, but we're back on Saturday when we talk charity and politics and music with Live Aid founder Midge Ure, best known for his bands Ultravox and Visage. And as ever, we're on Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud and email. Also, don't forget RTUK News with Bill Dodd. It's on every weekday evening on the hour from 7 till 10. See you on Saturday, the date that 43 years ago marks the discovery of a 18.5-minute gap on the Watergate tapes.